All right. Good to see everybody. Alhamdulillah, how's everybody? Good? Inshallah, we're just going to be together for like half an hour. I know, mashallah, you guys are all busy with your things at home. I wanted to take an opportunity to meet everybody virtually, and we have inshallah, very special month coming up soon with Ramadan, just a matter of a few days away. So I do want to, inshallah, share some very special moments with y'all, just reflecting together, doing some things together that are inshallah beneficial and reflective and fun. And so I am going to be discussing a few things out of this book, which is the Yahya Emmerich version of the meaning of the Holy Quran for kids. And so inshallah, we're also going to have a little Kahoot game at the end. And every day will probably be like a few similar things, a few new things, inshallah. And if you have any issues, you can send me a chat and I'll try to solve it. I hope everybody can hear me, inshallah. Okay, so we all know that there are 30 juz in the Quran. We know that the month of Ramadan is coming up. And inshallah, we would like to not only recite more Quran, we want to also think about the meaning of what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has told us in the Quran as well. And we're just going to spend about half an hour. We're not going to be able to read every single word that's in there, but we can talk about a few of the gems and reflections, okay? So in the very beginning, in Juz 1, in Surah Al-Baqarah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us something, okay? And he tells us that is a book in which there is no doubt. It is a guide for those who are mindful of their duty to Allah. And so the Quran is a book in which there is no doubt. What does doubt mean? Well, every time our parents or somebody tells us to do something that is part of our religion to please Allah, and we say, oh man, why? Or I wish I didn't have to do that, or I just don't feel like it. We have to dig really deep inside of our heart and see if the reason that we're reacting that way is due to doubt. Okay, doubt is something that's in the heart. And so, alhamdulillah, with all this time that we have that's off of school and activities and sports, we can take this opportunity to really look inside of ourselves, because we have the physical world. We also have a spiritual world. We as human beings, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us not just a physical reality, but he also gave us a heart, a soul. And this is a very important part of ourselves, which is going to be there even after our physical body is not here anymore, okay? And so here, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us in the very beginning that this is a book in which there's no doubt. It is a guide for those who are mindful of their duty to Allah, okay? So then he goes on to describe that these are the ones who believe in what is beyond their perception, okay? Who establish regular prayer and spend in charity out of what we have given them. So some very important points in there is that true believers, true muttaqin people are people who believe in what? That which is beyond what you are experiencing in that moment. So for example, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us about the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We believe in him, but we're not experiencing him physically in that moment. He's part of the unseen. We believe in the akhirah, right? When we're doing our deeds, we believe we're going to be rewarded or punished. That is part of the unseen. We believe in Allah. That's part of the unseen. These are things that are beyond our perception. And he tells us, very importantly, those who establish regular prayer and spend charity out of what we have given for them. Prayer is a very, very important part, okay? A very important part of our faith and practice. Okay, we're not like other religions where we just believe and that's enough. We have to practice, and prayer is the most important. It's like the door that opens to other deeds. So for example, when we pass away and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala asks us in our grave about our deeds, one of the first deeds he will ask about is our prayer. If our prayer is good, he can look at other things. But let's say somebody is just like donating tons of money, doing all this, going out to visit sick people or whatever, but they didn't pray. Those things are not going to count, because the prayer is not there. The prayer has to be there. This is a fard that Allah tells us in the beginning of the Quran. And it also says something very interesting that we should pay attention to. It says, spend in charity out of what we have given them, okay? So spend in charity out of what we have given them. So Allah is not telling us that we have to spend, Allah is not telling us that we have to spend something that we don't have. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us that we just need to spend from what He has given us. So if, for example, if you have 5 Hershey's Kisses, or you have like 4 Kit Kat bars, Allah is not saying that you have to go and get more to share, but what you have, you just take from what you have and you share maybe 1 bar of that, okay? So everybody has a different amount, or everybody has something that they might want to, you know, that they're able to share, or that somebody wants something from them. So there's something beautiful about sharing from what you already have. It's not a burden, you know, it's not a burden on us. Okay, so also very importantly, in the beginning of Surah Al-Baqarah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describes 3 types of people, okay? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describes 3 types of people. He describes believers, He describes hypocrites, and He describes disbelievers. And we once again always have to be self-reflecting on ourselves if we are falling into the category of believers, and we have to see if what we're doing is has the characteristics of believers, right? So we don't want to be hypocrites, because Allah tells us that who are the hypocrites? He tells us in verse 14, there's people who will come and tell you they're believers when they're with you, okay? When they are with you, they just want to be your friend. They pretend like they are believers, but then when they go to other people, they say, no, we're really with you. We were just kidding. We weren't really with the believers. They keep changing their personality because they don't have taqwa inside. No, we want to be in that first group, which is the believers. We don't want to be, of course, disbelievers, and we don't want to be in that shady group of hypocrites, those who have hypocrisy. And so I would say one of the more dangerous groups to be careful about is the hypocrites, because hypocrites can sometimes look like Muslims, but then because they're changing back and forth, they're not firm in their belief, so they fall into this hypocrisy, and this hypocrisy is extremely punishable by Allah. Sometimes hypocrites are put into hellfire before clear disbelievers. So we want to make sure all the time that we are purely believers, okay? So another thing, moving along in this juz, and those who are joining us later, I was just going through some gems from juz 1. We're going to have a Kahoot game at the end, you know, with Ramadan coming up soon. Inshallah, we'll have some different things each day, but today I thought we would just start with a few gems from here. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reminds us that He is the one who made the earth as, you know, this is verse 22 of Surah Al-Baqarah. He's the one who made the earth as your couch, the sky as your canopy. He sends down water from the sky, and with it causes many types of plants to grow for your survival. So don't make rivals with Allah, especially when you know better. So I think there is no greater example than right now with the coronavirus going on in this earth, this pandemic, that this verse that maybe we overlooked before, maybe we took it for granted that, oh yeah, you know, Allah's in power and Allah's in power, but the way we're acting, we're kind of ignoring it. Now we know that it is Allah that's in power. There is nobody that can stop this pandemic other than Allah, okay? So I think everybody, I hope, even non-Muslims, are getting this feeling of fear that nothing can control what's going on other than a higher power of Allah. Okay, and Allah reminds us in verse 25, that's because they'll be given their reward in the form of what was familiar to them. What's more, they'll be joined by wholesome mates with whom to abide for all time. So this is a promise that Allah tells us about paradise. When we do good deeds, we're going to be given a reward similar or something we're familiar with, okay? So sometimes when we're sharing that Hershey or that Kit Kat or whatever it is, sharing your iPad or whatever, and we're feeling like, you know, oh darn, you know, I'm giving this up. When you remember that you're doing it to please Allah, remember that in Jannah, you're going to get something that you're familiar with that's even better than that same feeling that you have right now. So it's not going to be something where you can't even, you know, like it's totally unrelated and who cares? No, you're going to be getting something that is so great, that is even better than what you have right now, and you will appreciate it and you will feel good about it. Also, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us, I want to share some of the stories. I want to share some of the stories that are in Juz 1. So one of the stories that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala shares with us in Juz 1 is the story of when Allah created the angels and shaitan. And he asked, he said that, so one thing is that when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created, and I'll read this to you. It says, and so it was that your Lord said to the angels, I'm going to place a caretaker on earth. Okay, so a caretaker, a vicegerent. He's talking about us as human beings. Then the angel said, are you going to put someone who's going to cause chaos and disorder and shed blood while we magnify your praise and extol your holiness? So the angels were asking, why are you going to create these human beings? They're just going to cause all these problems. So then this is the response that Allah said, I know what you do not know. So honestly, sometimes when we're going through the struggle of life, okay, when we're going through the struggle of life, we wonder, why did Allah, create us and put us through all this test? It looks like the people who are not practicing Islam and making sacrifice, they're having all the fun. Why are we going through this? Here is the answer. Is that Allah has a wisdom and a knowledge that we don't have. He says, I know that which you do not know. So that should be enough for us to feel that faith that Allah knows why he created us and did all this. But, this is something. So now, after that, Allah said to the angels to bow down in respect to Adam. So he commanded the angels to bow down. They all bowed down except for a jinn named Iblis, who was there watching. He didn't bow down. He refused. Why? He refused in his arrogant pride and chose to cover his awareness of truth. Okay, something to pay attention to in this story is that we were talking earlier about how we have a physical side to us, right? And we have a spiritual side to us. And so that heart that's inside of us, we're responsible for that heart, okay? Because animals, everybody has a pet, or somebody that has a pet. The pet, is really, let's say, like a physical being, or plants or animal. They have a physical body, but they're not responsible for their soul or their, they're not responsible for their heart, for their decisions that they make. But we are responsible for the condition of our heart to a certain extent. So some of these qualities that we have inside, we need to pay attention to so that we can shape. So we need to look what was wrong with Shaitan in this moment. When Allah asked him to bow down to the angels, what was that? That was a command from Allah. That was a command from Allah. Allah didn't say why to do it. He didn't say, he didn't give a big description. He gave a command. So we need to look at what happened. What happened is Shaitan was arrogant and he disobeyed. So what was the cause of his disobedience? Arrogance. Where does arrogance come from? It starts in the heart. So when we are not humble, when we don't believe in Allah, when we don't submit to Allah, then that means that we're arrogant. And anything that fluctuates, like in our heart, our condition fluctuates. It can get worse if we don't take care of it, right? And it can get better if you take care of it. That's with so many examples in life we can give, right? So for example, if you don't clean something, you let it keep getting dirty and dirty and dirty, it'll keep getting worse. But if you keep cleaning it, it'll get better. With the heart, if you allow that arrogance to grow, your heart becomes hardened. And that's the condition that Shaitan was in. His heart was hardened and he refused to bow down, okay? But we as Muslims, we need to take note of that and not allow ourselves to be in that position, because he was cursed by Allah. We need to get back softer. And so we ordered. Allah tells in 36, well, actually, let's go back to 35. We said to Adam, both you and your mate can live in this garden and eat freely from the bounty of your fill, but don't go near this one tree, for it will lead you to corruption. Here's another story, okay? This is a story of when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created Adam and Eve, and they were placed in Jannah, okay? They were placed in Jannah, and there was a tree, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala could have chosen anything, right? But what did he choose? He chose to give them this test to check their obedience. And this theme keeps on repeating so that we can learn from that, so that when we are given orders in the Quran, that we obey Allah, right? So here what happened, Adam and Eve, they were asked not to go near this one tree. They can have everything else in the whole garden. So think about, think about how that might relate to ourselves in that moment. Somebody is trying to, okay. So think about how that can relate to yourself. So here, Adam and Eve, they were asked not to go near that one tree, and what happened? They were tempted by shaitan and banished from where they had been. So Adam and Eve were tempted by shaitan, and they failed the test because they went near the tree. And then Allah said, we ordered them to get down from here and live in conflict with each other and inhabit the expanse of the earth and fend for yourself for a while. So what happened as a result of their disobedience? Allah dropped them from Jannah to live in earth. So what's the difference? In Jannah, you just get everything because you're already in a high position, right? You have everything. But when you're down in the earth, it's a struggle. Okay, let me go through a few more stories very quickly. Another story is the story of the calf. So in verses 53 to 54, we are told the story of the calf, where what happened is Prophet Musa, the Bani Israel people, slowly they started to love something that was not Allah. Why they did that? Who knows? They started to love something that was not Allah. What did they start to love? A calf, a golden calf of all things. Think about how this can relate to our life. How many times did we start loving something more than Allah? Right? So how do we know we love something more than Allah? One way is the very easy test is whenever we're asked by Allah to do something, whether it's praying, whether it's giving sadaqah, whether it's covering properly, if we love something else more than doing what Allah asked us, that means that we're loving something else more than Allah too. And we don't want to be in that category. And we're told this story in the Quran. Another example that I will, there was about 6 stories that I wanted. I'm going to skip some of the main ones. So another story that we're told in Juz 1 is that the Bani Israel people were given, this is in verses like 56, they were given something from the sky called manna and salwa. Manna and salwa. So all they had to do is just receive this food from the sky. They didn't have to work. They didn't have to go pay for it or go to the grocery store, chop it up, cook it, clean. No, they were given something perfect as a gift from God. But what happened? They actually were feeling ungrateful for that. Where does ungratefulness take place? That's something in your heart as well, right? And so due to this ungratefulness, they said, you know what, we're bored of this. We're tired of this. Give us something else. In verse 61, it says, hey, Moses, we're tired of eating the same thing day after day. So call upon your Lord for us to bring harvest to the earth, herbs, cucumbers, garlic, lentils, onions. Well, guess what? They got the answer to their prayer, but you know what? It got harder for them. They now did not just easily get something. Now it became difficult for them to receive or to acquire those things, okay? So just think about how ungratefulness can lead us into the same situation. Sometimes, we're really tired of something that we have, right? We start complaining, you're tired of, your own siblings, your own home, your own toys, your own clothes. And then we bring trouble on ourselves by asking for too much. And I have another story for you before we go to our Kahoot game really quick, inshallah. Another very important story in Juz 1 is the story of the cow, okay? In fact, the whole Surah Baqarah is called the cow. And so if you look in verses 66 moving forward, Allah says, remember when Moses said to his people, Allah commanded that you sacrifice a cow. They replied, surely you're not serious. Moses answered them saying, God forbid that I would speak so frivolously. So they demanded, call upon your Lord on behalf to specify exactly what kind of cow. Then Moses replied, neither too old nor too young. He says, but somewhere in between. Now do as you're told. And then the Bani Israel came back and asked, call upon your Lord on our behalf to tell us what color it should be. So then Moses answered, a light brown cow, rich in tone and pleasant to the eye. And then they asked again, call upon your Lord on behalf. They pleaded once more to point out the variety, for all cows look the same to us if Allah wills, and we will be rightly guided. He says, an unyoked cow, neither worn from plowing nor watering the field. So let me summarize what's going on. Whenever Musa alayhi salam told the Bani Israel people that Allah is asking them to go get a cow, you know what they did? They kept, instead of obeying, they kept on delaying by asking so many questions. Like, and think about how we do this in our life. Let's say our parents tell us, clean your room. And parents have a very high status in Islam. It's not that they are Allah, but it's very important we respect our parents. How many times later, when, oh, that's his half of the room. I don't want to do it. Oh, but I did that yesterday. And you keep delaying and delaying and delaying, right? And this is something the Bani Israel people did, which was a pretty significant story here. And so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us the story in the Quran, and it says, you know, so this is, the story goes on like this. And then in verse 71, they answered, now you've given us a complete description, but even still they offered the sacrifice only grudgingly. Why did Allah give us the story? To make a point about the attitude that they had in their heart. And so many of these stories that if we just read this juz, we just think that they're easy stories because they're not as exciting or creative as like Harry Potter or whatever it is that we read. They seem very, very like easy, but the idea of these stories in the Quran is so that we can reflect at what's really going on. Okay, so we look at the attitudes and the state of being of the people who disobeyed Allah. What was the result of what they did versus the people who, you know, obeyed Allah and were successful. What I would like to do is have a quick Kahoot game. So I'm going to pull up the Kahoot, inshallah, and I hope that everybody is able to log into Kahoot really quick, and it'll be a very quick game. While we're loading that, I want to tell you something really exciting, which is that we have an amazing app that is now available on the App Store. I think that Kahoot is open, so we can start. It's only a few questions, so let me give y'all a minute to log into Kahoot really quick. And right now there's 0 players, and the game pin, can you see the game pin, guys? It says 3651643. All the questions from this Kahoot are from what we discussed today. Okay, I see Mariam is on. Let me give y'all a minute to get onto this Kahoot game, inshallah. So over time, I'm gonna check who's winning these games, and I will have little tiny prizes, inshallah. And somehow I'll get it to you, even though we are all social distancing right now. Okay.
Can I say something?
Yes.
I'm Medium A2, but I wrote Medium is awesome.
Yeah. Yes, thank you for joining, alhamdulillah. Okay, I see a lot of people. Can we start now? There's like 9 people on here, 10.
Wait, so I just go on to, can I like?
Yeah, just go on to Kahoot. Go on to Kahoot.
Did I go on my iPad?
Yeah, just go to Kahoot.it.
Kahoot.
Some people have a Kahoot app. And this is just a review of, you're gonna know.
So do I press play?
Yes, so what you do is you put in the game pin.
Miss Mona?
Game.
Can you see the screen? Can everybody see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, so you see where it says Kahoot.it and then put the game pin.
Yeah, we're
okay, so we got 15 of you on there.
We need 2 more.
Wait, it says it can recognize the game. 3, 6, 5.
Can you check what's going on? Participants are watching.
Miss Mona?
Yeah. Yes.
I can't hear you that well.
Oh, you can't hear me that well.
Like, the phone is on full volume, but like, you're really low.
Okay, actually, no. Wait, now can you hear me? Okay, let's
Miss, my name's Kiwi.
It's
very nice. Okay, I think we should start because of the time.
Does anyone?
Okay, ready? So let's start. Bismillah. We're going to start the first.
Miss, I'm Kiwi Lena.
Awesome. We're going to start. Bismillah. Let's go.
Ready?
No.
All right. Just one questions. The Bani Israel people had problems with their what? Houses, hearts, money, or health? Stick around.
That's correct.
Okay, and the answer is hearts, the Bani Israel people, and 6 of you got that right. That's awesome. The next question. The 3 groups of people described in Surah Baqarah are, is it white, black, brown, Christians, Jews, and Muslims, Muhajirun, Ansar, and Quraysh, or believers, hypocrites, and disbelievers? Who are the 3 groups? Very good.
Okay.
7 of you got it right. Believers, hypocrites, and disbelievers.
Kiwi Lena.
Okay, all right, we got some people competing here. Why did Shaitan refuse to bow down? What is the answer to that? Was he arrogant? He wanted to take Allah's place? He didn't believe in Allah? Or he wanted to be an angel?
This is scary.
A few more seconds. Why did Shaitan refuse to bow down? Find the best answer for that. Very good. Y'all did great. 14 of you got that right. Okay. The false god of the Bani Israel people was, sorry for the typos, guys. So was it sun, calf, Jesus, or Star of David? Who was the false god of the Bani Israel people? In Juz 1, sun, calf,
So
Jesus.
we only have 2 more questions because we have a class and I'm really scared I'm going to get in trouble.
Okay. The answer is calf. Very good. Yes, we're going to make this very quick. All are major problems of the Bani Israel except ungratefulness, shirk, disobedience, or stealing. Which one is not a problem that they had?
Oh, dang
That are major.
Oh, no.
So they had, very good. The answer is stealing and, ooh, very good. Okay, and then we have the last one. How many surahs are in Juz 1? How many surahs are in Juz 1? Is it 1, 2, 3, or 4? In Juz 1, how many surahs are there? All right, the answer is 2.
Oh, yay.
Y'all did great. Listen, the time is about up. I'm gonna tell you more about the, this app that's out because we're gonna have a nice little competition with prizes. We're talking about like $100 prize, things like that. Also, thank you everybody for joining. We are going to be having also some cute little rewards as well. It's gonna be fun. So I look forward to seeing y'all here tomorrow again, inshallah, and invite your friends. Jazakumullahu khairan. This app, I don't know if people have to leave or not, but I will just put the links here. Oh goodness, did it log out? Okay, are we still here? Okay, so I will put, whoever's still here, I'm gonna just put the app, put it in the chat. I am going to put the app links there. It's on Android, so it's on Google Play, it's on Apple Store, right? And we're gonna use this app to do some really cool competitions and encouragement, and it's gonna be so much fun, okay, y'all? So I'm gonna do a quick dua, and we'll see y'all here tomorrow. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdik, ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Wal 'asr, innal insana lafi khusr, illa alladhina amanu wa 'amilu salihat, wa tawasaw bil haqqi wa tawasaw bis sabr. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.